Welcome to Group Dates and Hot Takes, a Bachelor Nation podcast. I'm Sampy.
I'm Christy. We're recapping Bachelor in Paradise.
We're back! Again! Yes, we're back for, what is this, week 4 now, I think. This was a jam-packed week of excitement. Even so far as to receive and warrant this incredible review and testimonial from one Christy Mitchell, who said that it's one of her favorite episodes ever. Talking about, I believe, episode 1 of this week.
Yes.
So episode, 6 of the season.
Yes, it was a lot happened involving 2 contestants who tried to scam everyone, but the producers didn't let them do that. It was very funny.
Well, I guess perhaps the producers may have let them do that a little bit, but time will tell, I think. Before we jump into all the juicy details, is there anything from outside of Bachelor in Paradise that we need to discuss from Bachelor Nation?
Yeah, there's just a couple of quick things. Mari revealed that the whole cake celebration that Demi was doing was actually her idea, but then Demi stole it.
Oof.
And so she got mad enough and eventually threw the cake.
Oh, no. Oh, that's unfortunate for Mari. Yeah, Demi was really into just ruining Mari's life.
Yeah, I'm not surprised Demi did something like that.
Yes, after all of the poking and prodding and even just the whole boom boom room situation, Mari has not been in the most excellent of conditions lately.
No, she is struggling a bit. And then also there's a pic on social media of Jessenia and Chris hanging out in a large group in May, so that's kind of like another pre-existing acquaintance at the very least.
Christy, none of these people know each other from before.
Yeah, and I think I don't remember. There was other people in that photo as well. Like, everybody was hanging out so much.
At some point, I may start to lose track of everyone who's been accused of being in a relationship before they went on the show, because it's happening a lot.
Yep, and speaking of pre-existing relationships.
Ooh, is that something we should talk about now, or when we get to it in the episode?
We can save it till the end, I guess.
Okay.
Or that part of the episode.
Yeah, that's something exciting. Little juicy tidbit for everyone. Coming soon. Well, let's jump into this thing. Get to see the arrival of Kendall again. Yay.
Yes, sometimes I forget where we left off, and then you start the episode and boom, we're right back in it. So she walks up to Joe, and the conversation they have is just kind of meandering, and it doesn't seem to have much of a conclusion.
No, because this whole thing about how, they're over each other but not over each other, and they wanted to make it work but they didn't want to make it work, and they decided to end it together, but neither of them were happy about it. Like, this sort of back and forth, which didn't really amount to anything.
No, because it was like she sort of might want him, but
maybe
She's
not.
Yeah, she's surprised he's moving on, which, like, if Joe's in paradise, obviously he has moved on. So,
or at least trying to.
yeah, and like since neither one of them wanted to live where the other was, like it's just never gonna work.
Yeah, it's just weird. 'Cause they're like, oh, we only broke up because of logistics.
Yeah, but
Which
where you
is-
live is pretty important logistic.
Yes, it's just very depressing that they were like, you know what? It's not worth it. I just would prefer to be near my family and friends. So, I mean, surely, I don't know. What does Kendall do?
I don't follow her, so I'm not sure, but I'm sure she does influencer stuff.
I mean, how difficult is it when you're? I mean, I don't know if Joe can get away from his grocery store, but
He no longer has that store.
well, there you go. So if they really wanted to make it work, why couldn't they have just spent half the year in Chicago and half the year in LA? Like, spend the summer in Chicago and the winter in LA. How hard is that?
That kind of makes me think there might have been other things.
No
reasons
way.
Why they broke up.
There definitely wasn't anything else. I did also want to mention, this has no importance whatsoever, but our faithful listener, Gabe, will either back me up. I think he'll back me up on this, but I think that Kendall vaguely resembles Keira Knightley. So y'all can message us, email us, whether or not I'm right on this, but something about that mouth just reminds me Keira Knightley. Sorry, we can continue.
Yeah, so Joe has to then chat with Serena after this to reassure her that everything's going to be fine. And Joe always has this way of meandering around with his words as well. He's like, I don't want to mislead you. I don't want to ruin your chances here. It's going to be weird. You're my main priority. I'm over her. So I guess he finally is able to convince Serena that they are still strong.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like she was maybe a little bit skeptical still by the end of that.
Yeah, I loved how she said, I don't want to look over and see you and Kendall reigniting your love.
AKA kissing each other.
Yeah, that wouldn't be fun. So.
Well, time will tell if they survive. Time will tell.
So at this point, we see Noah and Abigail, I guess, fix things.
Because when we last saw them, right, things were over? Question mark.
Yeah, it was all very confusing.
Look, I just want to say I'm very proud of them. All right, because they didn't just give up. They were like, you know what? Maybe we just need to not suck at communicating with each other. And I thought that was surprisingly mature.
Yeah, they seem to be better, and hopefully it sticks.
Huh. You never know in paradise. Anything could happen.
Yeah, so at this point, Kenny and Tia return from their date, which I had forgotten was still going, but Mari grabs him right away and is once again trying to convince him that she kind of messed up with saying, oh, I want to see other people if they come down.
Mm-hmm. Can I just say, too, that, as we were going back in time, sort of seeing everything leading up to this, that's just so annoying to me. It's like I don't need to see all of these scenes in their like almost black and white to make sure we know that they're from the past. Like
Oh yeah.
I literally just watched this last week. I remember it. I was there. I saw it. I mean, I wasn't there in person, but I saw it on the stinking screen.
Yeah, it's not like they are lacking in scenes to air. They have so much footage that they don't have time for, that I don't understand why they waste time showing flashbacks to last week.
I don't know. I mean, like, maybe I would understand more if it was, like, flashbacks to the first episode of the season or something. Like, but it's literally, like, last week. Makes no stinking sense to me. But yeah, this whole, Kenny... I don't know if I so much want to involve Tia in this because I don't really know how much she is actually involved. I feel like she doesn't care a whole lot necessarily.
Oh, yeah, we didn't see anything really from Tia after this. I'm guessing they ended the date just like, oh, this was fun, but nothing else is going to happen.
Well, it seemed like from the date that she didn't want to get in Demi's way.
That is true.
Which isn't surprising, because that whole Kenny, Mari, and Demi thing is a complete nightmare.
I know. He's got 3 people interested. But it seems like... Well, I guess maybe that happens later, but it seems like he's leaning more towards Mari at this point.
Well, or trying to... Of course.
He basically is like, let's talk tomorrow.
Yes, of course. Demi's ego continues to be bruised.
Oh, yes. This was pretty funny.
Yeah, the whole conversation that she had with him about how, like, she was saying that Mari was boring and acts like her poop doesn't stink and all these different things. She's there. I'm exciting. I slept with you. Like all these things. What do you even see in her?
Yeah, she does say all that. At this is also the convo where she asked him to see when I go to the boom boom room, and she gets rejected.
Lord. That
he
is
literally says like, I want to go to sleep.
Oh, that is. Well, the hilarious thing about that whole situation was and I don't know if she thought that she would be able to get away with this or what, but it looked like she tried to keep this a secret from, like, the show. Because she leaned over to him and whispered as quietly as she could.
Oh, yeah. But this is like her 3rd, at least, show. She knows mics have to pick everything up.
So what was her play there then?
I don't know. It doesn't make any sense.
No, but that was that really bruised her ego because...
Yeah, she can't fathom that someone would not want to get in bed with her.
No, I mean, probably nobody's ever refused before.
Yeah, so she is left to seethe with rage.
After everything she's been through to seduce him, from sleeping with him to, like, the piñata to the cake, which ended up getting thrown in the fire, just everything. All of her efforts just down the drain.
Oh, well.
I don't understand these people's behavior a lot of the time.
Especially hers. So we see, I guess, a quick scene of Brendan and Natasha talking, and we see ITMs from her where she's like falling for him. She's a real future. And Pieper comes down the stairs.
Like, honestly, this is somehow, like, sometimes I don't see how people watch this show because it's so evil on so many levels.
That's what makes it fun.
But it's so evil. Like, every single time, you know, you have somebody and they're finally getting comfortable with their situation. They're finally doing well. And then the producers are like, here's your worst nightmare.
Hey, that's part of what you sign up for.
I know.
It's the price of followers.
But
and Instagram fame.
I can still just shake my head at the diabolical nature of it all.
Yeah, this is where this episode gets good, because Pieper comes down, and like normally everybody like talks to different people to figure out who they're gonna go on the date with.
Yeah, because you get the date cards. You have to have a brief moment with some people who you think might be interesting and make a choice.
Yeah, but not Pieper.
No.
She's like, Brendan, do you want to go on the date? And of course, Brendan immediately says yes.
Zero hesitation.
Natasha does not look happy. I mean, it was just so blatantly obvious. And then Brendan has to go talk to Natasha and try and like smooth things over, but he didn't do a great job.
No, he did not.
He said the time we have spent has been great. As in basically, this is the end.
Yes, we're definitely, things are definitely going great between us, and we're for sure exclusive. But I'm gonna go see other people.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I just.
I mean, you pegged him pretty quick when the first time you saw Brendan.
Look, I like to think that I'm a decent judge of character.
Yeah, it appears you are.
Look, we all know I get it wrong sometimes. I've had to apologize on this show before for judgments I've made in the past. But this is not one of those times. Because he is a real buttface.
Yeah, we are just getting started. Because, I mean, up to this point, it hasn't been great. But, wow, did it get bad.
Because if you all will recall, there have been the rumors about the two of them, Brendan and Pieper, before, earlier in this season, where people were speculating as to whether or not they were in a relationship, thinking they may have been in a relationship before the show, all of that, and he had danced around it and denied it and all of that. But now we get to see their date.
Yes, I did notice it was raining as they walked up to the little setup with the dinner, but...
Well, which I gotta say was like watching some sort of conference of budget villains.
Yeah, there was like this ominous music playing throughout this. Brendan did need a towel though for his face.
He was so sweaty. It looked like. I don't know, and I don't know if that was from when it had been raining before, but it was very, very wet.
But Pieper looked dry.
Correct. He was the only moist thing there, and it was bad.
So Pieper arrives hoping to pick up where they left off. And Brendan's like, not to sound cocky, but a lot of the girls were interested in talking to me.
Mm.
He talked about how he had some good conversations with Natasha, and he's like, yeah, all the girls think I was just waiting for you. And he says he has to tell everyone that they weren't dating.
Because they definitely weren't dating for sure.
No, that wouldn't be fair.
No, despite the fact that, you know, it was like a progressing relationship before they came on the show.
Yes, and that's how it was from Piper's point of view, and she's like, why is he downplaying what we had leading up to this?
There was a little bit during that date where I thought she was just going to be done with him, because she did kind of look upset at one point because he was doing his shady sort of downplaying things and stuff. But then, you know, they got to the real meet where they all got to do their Jeff Bezos supervillain laugh, essentially.
Yeah. Brendan's like, yeah, there's certain things that had to be done. I guess referring to his actions in Paradise so far. And he's like, yeah, I can't have a girlfriend entering this journey. That's not a good look. So if I tell people you're coming, nobody's going to talk to me and I'd go home. So hopefully, like, you're okay with me navigating this to get to where you are here.
Yeah, can I don't know, this may be jumping ahead a little bit, but it was so disturbing that I had to make note of it. Is that he goes on to say at some point here that he's like looking forward to like taking advantage of like what Paradise, not like what Paradise could be or whatever, but what Paradise could promote together. Like that very specifically promote. I was just like, oh my goodness, this is literally the worst.
Yeah. I mean, it's literally just what products can we promote on Instagram?
So bad.
Yeah, and Pieper's like literally says at one point, thanks for playing the game. And like at this point, like the villain music is full on here, like creepy, and Piper's like, yeah, everyone can hate us together. That's fine. And they start making out. I have never seen anything like this before.
Incredibly blatant. I can't even deal with it. And they didn't, that's what's so crazy to me is they put literally zero effort into putting like this farce out there in such a way that it made any sort of sense. It's like, oh yeah, we weren't dating before, definitely not. Goes on one day, and then the next day, they're, I can't even describe this without feeling nauseous. Just how like attached to each other they were, and like sitting at the table next to each other, and she's like, picking through his like facial hair and eyebrows like some sort of like monkey in the jungle, like oh, your eyebrows are great. Oh, look at this beard you have, so wonderful. And the mouth noises she was making, like bloop, 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 like at him. It was disturbing. I was disturbed.
Like they could have played this differently. Like Pieper could have like played along with what Brendan had like set up, but instead she like was like, no, we're dating. Like They could have finessed it a lot better, but instead they just had no self-awareness at all.
Yeah, and if we need to take a moment so you can just dry your eyes and compose yourself, that's okay as well. Yes,
keep going.
As we said earlier, one of Christy's favorite episodes ever.
Oh, I was dying watching this. I could not believe what I was seeing.
Yeah, they really did not try very hard to make what they claimed plausible whatsoever.
Yeah, and one of my favorite parts of this was Deandra, Marissa, and Riley, that trio sitting there by the pool, just watching everything and commenting. That was great.
Yes, I do actually have quite a bit of respect for Deandra, both from her sort of defense and comments about so first of all, her comments with the two of them, like, about this, and then later with the other clout situation, as well as just way back in the day when Carl and Chasen were both trying to one-up each other to get her rose, and she was just like, nah. Goodbye to both of you. So I kind of enjoy her, but yeah, the three of them just sitting poolside, commenting on the situation.
Yeah, and Riley was like, "Is paradise always this spicy?"
And just the train wreck continues.
Yeah, so Natasha at this point decides to talk to Pieper, so it's like, might as well go straight to the source. And
well, because she's talked to Brendan before, and she does not believe him.
No. And so Piper's like, yeah, we met a little over 2 months ago, and she saw him right before he flew to paradise. So that's fun. The night before.
Yeah, literally right before. Not like a couple weeks before. Literally right before.
Like, that should have been your hint. Like, maybe we shouldn't be going to paradise.
Christy, it's all about the followers.
She also reveals they've hung out about 10 times. They've hung out so much that she didn't even know an exact number.
That is perhaps an indication, particularly when you're describing the situation, like, and that they were a couple without labels.
Like, what does that
just
even
means
mean?
You're a couple. Just because you haven't decided to call it anything doesn't mean it isn't anything.
I know, so ridiculous.
How delusional are you?
They're not trying to be a TV couple, not vlogging everything we do. Like, everything she says is like with this focus of like Instagram and social media. And this is where we see Brendan. I don't know who he's talking to, whether it's a contestant or a producer.
Oh, I was very angry about that.
I know.
So that was like
so bad.
Maybe, despite everything that we've seen on this show, on this season and other seasons, this may be one of the most dirtbag things that has happened. It's just so incredibly mean and without purpose that it irritated me a lot. Because, yeah, he was like, it's not like I'm keeping her from other prospects, or it's not like she has other prospects. What?
I know. He said she had 0 prospects. Like, how dare you say she wouldn't be wanted by anybody else? Like,
unbelievable.
So bad.
I will mention again, I was totally right about him from the very beginning.
Yes, the second he showed up on the beach. You hadn't even seen Tayshia's season where he like self-eliminated at like hometowns because he all of a sudden just couldn't get there.
that doesn't scream commitment issues whatsoever. But no, I had zero knowledge of him because I watched Claire's season in quotes.
Yeah, it was just
and then
4 episodes. So.
Then I couldn't take it anymore, and so I didn't watch Dacia's. And then I got dragged back in because Christy wanted to do the podcast.
Yes.
Very strange. Yeah, I just like the two of them just off on their own talking about all of this ridiculous stuff, like the whatever, because there was like a magazine article about them or something, right?
Oh yeah, that's later on.
Okay.
Or a little bit later.
I just like in my memory, this whole section of them just being complete jerks is just compressed into this one solid block of them being complete jerks.
Yeah, because they keep interspersing. Like at this point, I guess Pieper has gone back to sit with Brendan, and you see them cackling over there on the couch. We'll look back on this and laugh was one of their quotes.
I also really appreciated Natasha's shade because they kept splicing in an ITM where she was talking about everything. Just how she didn't trust him and everything, and just all this snark, which was really great. At one point, she's just talking about them, and you're like, yeah, they're gonna continue to build their connection here on ABC.
I know. I loved it. The way she handled all this was so good too, by the way. Like, I don't think I would have handled that as well. And, like, at this point, she grabs Brendan because now he needs to answer for all of this. And Brendan's like, oh, it wasn't a romantic or intimate relationship with us. He tries to say, I told you I didn't have those feelings for you. But then when Natasha's like, no, you didn't say that. He's like, well, maybe I didn't say that, but I gave you all these reasons because you deserve to find love. It was so patronizing. And then he says Natasha had selective hearing. Like, what? And he does eventually admit in this conversation that he had already had strong feelings for Pieper, which just nullifies everything he said before to Natasha.
What a disaster.
And then
what a disaster of a person.
Yeah, and here he keeps this narrative going where he's like, who would Natasha have gone for on the beach? As if nobody would be interested in her. Like, I don't understand why he's being so mean about it.
'Cause he's a jerk?
He also reveals that Pieper came to Boston to see him, not in a group setting. Like, this is all stuff he should have revealed day one of Paradise. He didn't think that had much relevance either, the fact that Pieper came to see him.
No, because why would it have relevance? It's not like they were in a relationship with labels.
No. And he also is like, if guys had any desire to talk to you, it would have happened. It's just, wow. And then finally they reach the end of this, and he's like, the time we have spent together, I have enjoyed. And I love Natasha's response. It was bleep. I'm not sure what she said. And then she said, you go enjoy paradise.
A variation of poopy.
Okay. Yeah, that fits. Just... Yeah, and here we have Tia's basically saying, yeah, they had an agreement to just swap roses back and forth for followers. That's all this is.
Wow.
And here's the part you were talking about earlier with the Us Weekly article.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, they just spent a lot of time just off by themselves. Just so just self-absorbed and self-congratulatory just, we got everyone.
Could not believe it.
We fooled them.
Because like Pieper is like admitting, oh, I got 10,000 followers from that Us Weekly article where it talked about the two of them seeing each other. And she said, remember when I hit 70? I had like 78 when I left.
Unbelievable. That's 1,000, by the way.
Yes. And then Brendan's like, the best part is the amount of times your name is going to be brought up on the show.
Well, it'd be before she got here, I think is what he was talking about.
Yeah.
Like how much she had been mentioned before she'd even gotten there.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Pieper says, thank you for doing all the heavy lifting so I could just swoop in here. Neither of us were stupid enough to put a label on this.
I have no words.
And here we have one last mean comment from Brendan saying, we don't see who he's saying this to, but he says, I was getting so annoyed by her, surprised she's still here, referring to Natasha. How can you be this bad? Like, we even see Brendan like fiddling with his mic to try and like muffle the sound, and they both admit that they are screwed.
Yeah, because they've been heard by the microphone, presumably.
Maybe they thought that this just wouldn't make air, because normally this is not the sort of thing that ABC airs. But ABC was like, you know what? We're going to hang you guys out to dry. We're going to back the bus up over you multiple times.
Well, do you want to talk about that little tidbit from the beginning now?
Oh, yeah. So, like, after this episode aired, like, over the next 24 hours, Brendan lost 58,000 followers on Instagram.
Sweet justice.
I know. And
Justice for Natasha.
Natasha gained 178,000.
100 over 100,000.
Yes, 178,000. So, really, just as people talk about karma, just really working itself out there.
What about Pieper?
She lost like 7,000 or 8,000, but she had less followers overall. Like, I think Brendan had in the hundreds of thousands, so he had like more to lose.
Okay, well, I wouldn't totally surprise me. Like, that doesn't totally surprise me either, because I think as much as Pieper may be culpable for this situation and the poopiness that she has exhibited, Brendan's really been the one who's just been, like, really terrible. Like,
yeah, he's the one with all the mean comments.
Yeah, well, the mean comments, as well as, like, the bulk of, like, the manipulating people and lying to people, all of that different stuff. I mean, that may change as things go forward and as she gets to play a more active role, but I would suspect that feeds into it, is that he said so much to sink himself this episode.
Yeah. And both of them, by the way, were very defiant on social media. They were like, here for the wrong reasons was Brendan's caption. I think Pieper was like, I don't even remember what it was. It was just some sort of like, yeah, I'm leaning into my villain role, and just a mess.
Unbelievable. Guys, there's never an excuse to be a terrible person. Just be a good person.
Mm-hmm. It just would be so much simpler.
Mm-hmm. That message was brought to you by me. Man. Is there anything else from the end of this episode that we need to talk about?
I think that's it for that episode.
Okay. Oh, boy. Halfway through week 4. Exciting stuff.
Yeah, so the next episode opens with Kendall, who you haven't seen her before, but she's always been a bit of an oddball, I guess. So here she is talking about bird sex facts, just for no reason, I guess, for trivia.
Completely unnecessary.
Yep. And I guess Demi is once again asking Kenny to go to the boom boom room. This is just embarrassing for her at this point. So now we have our next celebrity guest host. Lance Bass has left and Titus Burgess arrives. I'm not too familiar with him. Like, I've watched a few episodes of that TV show he was on, but
Unbreakable Kenny Schmidt?
yeah. I don't know. I feel like of the 3 guest hosts that we've seen, he's my least favorite.
Yes, absolutely.
He was just kind of, I don't know, the vibe was kind of awkward. But he informs them that he's going to throw a party that only a select few are invited to, which was actually quite a few people. Becca, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I still wish that I could boycott the show and demand they return David Spade back to us, because I've been progressively less happy with the guest hosts.
We started off strong, and
I mean, he barely even showed up. Was a part of it. He was barely there.
You talking about Titus?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It was strange.
Anyway, sorry. I apologize. I had frustration on my heart, and I needed to express it. Please continue.
No, I feel the same. So the people invited were Becca, Aaron, Noah, Abigail, Kenny, Jessenia, Chris, Riley, Deandra, James, Thomas, and Demi, which means Mari is left behind. Well, Kenny gets to hang with Demi, theoretically.
Dun, dun, dun! Yeah.
So,
not good for Mari.
No. So the VIP guests arrived to a club type setting, I guess. And I just had to point out that James was wearing this shirt that, like, I don't know if you remember that commercial where, like, the shirt is all, like, kind of wrinkled and the neck is stretched out. I don't remember what company it's for, but that's what his shirt looked like. It was, like, really thin and weird looking. I don't know how to describe it.
Very tight.
Yeah, but also, like, sort of clingy and I don't know. It's just a strange fit in material.
Not a choice that I would have made, but
so we now have 4 new women arriving to join these guests.
Dun, dun.
So we have Chelsea, who's a really tall model from Matt's season.
Somebody I actually know. Surprise, surprise.
Yeah.
Somebody I actually like, actually.
And then Alea, who's from Peter's season. McKenna, also from Peter's season. And then this girl, Elena, which I've never seen before. Yeah, it's kind of a lot to throw in at this point, I feel like.
Yes, because why should we care?
Yeah, apparently, if one of those 4 girls forms a connection with somebody, whatever that means, they might get to join the beach. So,
but I guess I didn't get that when he was talking about it. What does that mean? They're not being brought in as standard people?
I guess if they didn't hit it off with anyone at this party, they would just go home.
It's very confusing. The rules of this show are not at all clear.
I mean, we saw Chelsea and Elena actually join the beach, so I don't know if.
But I
means
didn't
Alea
see.
and McKenna won't. But
I mean, I didn't see Chelsea really make a connection with anyone at the party, did she? I
She
mean,
might have,
Aaron.
and they just
Aaron.
didn't show it.
Aaron was there, and she did end up going on a date with him. But I don't know. It was very confusing to
It's
me.
very arbitrary.
Yes, I would hate it. I need clearly defined rules that I can destroy other people with. Yeah. So, the second big train wreck of this week, huh?
Yeah, I did not see this coming. So apparently, Alana was also on this San Diego trip with Jessenia and Chris. And as soon as Alana arrives, basically Chris ditches Jessenia and starts making out with Alana, like on the spot.
Which, of course, Jessenia sees.
Yeah,
And
she
makes her
literally,
upset.
rounds the corner.
Which is somewhat understandable.
Yeah, I'd be upset too.
I also just, I could not believe this. All right, everyone knows that I already didn't like Chris, right? I wanted him to go basically as soon as I saw him. But this was just unbelievable to me. So he's making out with Alana. Jessenia sees, gets upset, like she's having issues, and he's sitting there on this chair with this woman who he's just been making out with, who is a different woman than the woman he's been dating, and he has the audacity to be like, I'm okay. How does that make any sense? You're the one. It would be like somebody walking up to somebody else and like stabbing them in the shoulder with a knife and then being like, I'm okay. You're not the one any of us is concerned about because you're the one who was the terrible person. I don't get it.
Yeah, his whole vibe was very strange during all of this. And then he talks to Jessenia and he's like, both of you were on my list. I didn't think I'd have feelings for her. Then Alana tries to steal Chris from her, but like Jessenia rebuffs her and makes her wait, which is, I always love when people try to steal and they can't.
Yeah, I just... And
he
just
also says...
Sorry, go ahead.
He also says, it's not like I don't like you. Like, that's not a good thing to hear.
Oh, at least it's not like he doesn't like her. Unbelievable. Yeah, and I just, too, like, it's bad enough that they did this first thing, but then they spend the rest of the party just making out in front of everyone.
Yeah, there's a singer who comes in and literally they are making out on the dance floor with Jessenia standing in the background.
The entire time.
So she has finally had enough and leaves the party and goes back to the beach.
I did not like that. Whatsoever. Yeah, so was it at this point then that Deandra was kind of consoling her a little bit?
Yeah, once she got back to the beach, they were all kind of now stressing about what's happening at the party, and we see Marissa like sobbing on the beach. Like, I guess worried what Riley's doing there. I don't know.
Another person screams into the ocean. Ugh.
So at this point, it is now the following day. And Kenny is talking with Mari. And he's worried that she only seems interested when Kenny is the one who's giving out the rose, but she tries to reassure him that's not the case.
That would never be the case.
Her feelings haven't changed. So at this point, Kenny seems to turn and be like, okay, so I like still like you. And they're like saying they would actually leave together. So.
Suspicious.
And now he has to talk with Demi.
Who is extremely put out.
Yeah, she did not handle this well. She's like, why do you want her? She's rude to everyone. She's not nice. She's mean. She's evil. She's a pageant girl. I mean, I feel like some of those terms probably apply to Demi, which is why she's projecting so much.
Yes, I'm such a fun person.
I know, she actually said that.
Yes, because that is definitely the criteria for a long and successful relationship, is to be a fun person.
That's all that matters.
There's just so much disaster here. I could barely take it.
Yeah, we see Chris moping around the beach. I'm not really sure why. Like, he's the one who...
Because he's conflicted, you know? He's conflicted. He just, like... He loves making out with Elena, but, like... He also liked making out with Jessenia. So it's
what a dilemma.
It's a tough call.
Well, here comes Elena now on the beach to make his decision even harder. He says she's here to be selfish and put herself first. Words to live by there.
Yes, that's what I always repeat to myself the first thing I get up in the morning. I'm here to be selfish and put myself first. And then I go, like, run down a granny at a pedestrian crossing or something. It's such a weird situation.
So she asked Chris on the date, and he asked to talk with her first, and then just says yes to her, like, away from everybody else. And other cast members convince him that he should talk to Jessenia first. It's like, that would be the nice thing to do.
And it's just going to help so much.
Yeah, this didn't go well for him. Because Jessenia's like, what do we have to chat about? You showed me who you are.
I love all the shade she was throwing.
Yeah. It was very enjoyable.
What a waste of a rose. So savage. Oh, man. Yeah, so what did you think about this ziplining date, Christy?
Yeah, it looked fun. They went ziplining, and then afterwards they were like sitting on the couch or chair or whatever, talking about how it's going to be a fun few weeks. I'm assuming the whole swap roses back and forth. And then there's like this weird, awkward sequence where they're like trying to figure out the best position to kiss on his couch. At some point, one of them says, assume a dominant position.
Oh, no. That's not very family friendly.
Well, it made the cut for air, so.
Yeah, because they wanted to make me uncomfortable, and I don't appreciate it.
So back at the beach, Joe reveals that Chris was asking him about how to get popular. So here we have somebody else trying to game the system.
Yeah, I just didn't. I didn't see anything particularly extraordinary about Elena in the short time we've seen her.
Don't know anything about her.
Nope. Yeah, they're starting to get a mob together.
Yeah, the cast has turned against them at this point.
Oh, man. I can't even. I also, sort of pivoting into the next section here, I don't understand why they brought Chelsea here. Like, she's too good for this place.
Oh, yeah, she seems like she doesn't belong, really. But not.
She's like a nice person. It seems like she's like modeled for like Vogue and like all this stuff.
Yeah,
like
she's too classy.
way too classy to be here.
Yeah, she has Aaron on the date.
I was surprised. She didn't go with Thomas. Because they're both so tall.
Yeah. And actually, even with how tall she is, Aaron was actually still taller than her, so Aaron must be pretty tall as well.
Well, he is pretty tall. He just doesn't talk about it all the time like Thomas does.
Oh, yeah.
Excuse me, tall person coming through. Yeah. It was a pretty short date, it seemed like. Because, like, did I miss anything? It just seemed like they just rode around on the horses, and then they sat on a blanket and drank champagne.
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah.
So we see Becca finally gets a date card.
Ooh, Queen Becca. Carl's white whale. And he was never destined to fish for.
Nope. So she wants to take Thomas, but decides to talk with Tammy first. And Tammy is like suppressing, like, yeah, go ahead, go for it. And then promptly breaks down crying after they leave. So she
regrets
put on a
that
brave
decision.
face, but
I also, so you're gonna have to remind me because I really don't remember much of anything about this date. Did anything actually happen besides
not
making out?
really. I mean, she talked about how she like her history on the show and that she's guarded. They make out. A band comes. They make out somewhere.
Oh yeah, that's right. It was the mariachi band. Yeah, I mean, it seems like with Thomas's bachelor aspirations that he would be all for being in a relationship with someone of Becca's status.
Yes. That's probably the best person for him from that perspective.
Oh, man. What's next, Christy?
Well, Chelsea and Aaron come back, and then Aaron learns about Becca and Thomas going on the date.
His whole response there was just
this was not good. I don't know what he was thinking here, but he's now talking about Tammy because I guess like Tammy's upset now, and Aaron says she better cry. She deserves to cry.
Well, cause she betrayed him, Christy. She betrayed him to his mortal enemy, his nemesis.
This was such a bad look, though.
She abandoned him for Thomas.
She's like, Tammy did me dirty, and I don't have much sympathy for her. It's coming back to bite her. Like, she's already sobbing. Like,
look, you, as unjustified as I think that is, you know how strongly he feels about Thomas.
Yeah.
And anyone who's going to betray him for his worst enemy deserves whatever horrible things happen to them. Yeah, not the best look, that's for sure. Hopefully he can, I don't know, do some therapy or something and get over whatever those feelings regarding Thomas actually
I know.
are.
What did Thomas even do that was so bad?
Well, it was just all stuff coming out of the whole, the whole like manipulation and Katie season, but I don't feel like it was such a big deal that it should still be causing so many issues now.
No, definitely not.
Man.
So the rest of this is just Chris and Alana coming back and the cast grilling them.
The fireworks to end the show.
Yeah, Joe and Riley are very upset with Chris, and because he already knew Alana and came for her, basically. And, like, I just don't... Why are they not going after Brendan?
I know, that was my big question. It's like, how are they so upset by this situation and not by the other?
Yeah, I've heard that it might be coming next week, but it's weird that they didn't go after them initially, like before Alana even showed up.
Well, and maybe that just had to do with how much information everybody had about the situations at that time, because the Brendan and Pieper situation was, I mean, it was blatant from the fact that they were like hanging out with each other and all of that different stuff and the rumors from before. But a lot of what was revealed about that situation was more directly to us, because they were off by themselves, sort of chortling and whispering together. Whereas I think that potentially this could be the reason, the Jessenia situation was way more raw for everyone, because it was so blatant. It was like, it was like blatant in a different way, because everyone was like, oh man, like what, like obvious, it seems like there was something going on there, because Pieper came in and was like, go on a date with me, and he was like, oh, absolutely. But it wasn't, and I guess I'll go to kind of a couple things I written down. Just like Riley, for example, was just very incredulous about the whole situation. So I think it sort of like insulted the general cast's like sense of honor, sort of like it like when Alana came in and the two of them were making out there and then making out on the dance floor in front of everybody. I feel like it was perhaps in their minds a worse offense, because it was directly like rubbed in her face from a like romantic angle, versus Natasha didn't have to deal with it quite in that same way, at least from what we saw. Like, obviously, she could still see them making out and stuff in the distance, but perhaps it was so much more just in your face with Chris and Alana that they felt like they needed to. But I do totally agree with that sort of head scratching, because that's totally, I was like, how did they do this to Chris and not Brendan?
Yeah.
literally one of my notes here. But
yeah, I mean, they basically bullied Chris and Alana off the beach.
Oh yeah, like they're talking to Chris, and Alana tries to add something, and Raleigh's just like, "You're fine, thank you though." And And then finally, as they're leaving, he's like, "I'm off this clown, man."
There was that really funny moment where like Alana's in the limo and like Chris tries to get in.
she's like, "This is not your car." That was really funny. I also was kind of wondering that perhaps the cast sort of got the wrong man here, or the wrong couple here. Because while I do think that there may have been something there, and while I think it may have evolved into something more like the Pieper situation, I don't think it was as nearly as involved of a scheme.
Oh, that's true.
Based on so when towards the end of the episode here, and the two of them were talking about like, okay, well, do we leave? Do we stay? Like, it's gonna be terrible if we stay. And well, should one of us leave? Should one of us stay? And then she, which I don't know why she would ever suggest this, but she suggests that he tries to work things out with Jessenia, which is never in a million years happening. But then Chris was like, "Okay, yeah, I think I'm gonna leave, but will you come with me?" Which her response is, I just got here.
I know. Like, I don't have enough followers yet.
You know, like, I don't want to be in a committed relationship yet, so I don't want to just leave with you.
I mean, it's so transparent why she was really there with that statement.
Yeah, well, I mean, and again, sort of, I think, points to the fact that it wasn't nearly the same type of situation that Brendan and Pieper have going on. I think that maybe they liked each other a little bit beforehand, and then after they sort of met up, we're like, "Oh yeah, like we could totally do this," and then they're like, it fell apart, but not as terrible people as the other two. And Natasha is not very happy about the situation, about not getting the unified support of the rest of her castmates.
Yeah, that had better be coming next week.
I hope so, because otherwise she is not going to be a happy camper. Not a happy camper at all. So, of course, no rose ceremony this week, despite having like 3 hours of television. They just can't make it through.
All the Brendan and Pieper stuff, it took up a lot of time, so. Still, there's got to be some amount of order in this chaotic world. Otherwise, are we any better than the anarchists? Yeah. Man. What a disaster. All around. It really is. So much drama.
Mm-hmm.
But it's so fun.
Will Brendan and Pieper finally get what's coming to them? Will Joe and Serena P's relationship survive into the coming weeks, despite the interference of Kendall? And what is with the same footage of that one bird eating the crab being shown over and over again? What's with that? These are all questions we have.
We'll have to tune in next week to find out.
Oh, yes, but not before I give the kiss count. Dun, 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 which is 23 for this week. Which, it's real good we picked up because there were only 3 in the first episode. So, it was a risk of being a very low kiss week. But thankfully, we managed to reverse that trend.
Yep, we can thank Chris for that.
Yeah, ugh. But I don't want to.
No, I'm not a huge fan of him. I just don't care about him or Elena at all, really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. If I want to care enough to dislike them, but I can't even muster that much caring.
No, we didn't see enough of them on their original seasons to care.
Well, you didn't. I didn't see them at all. Is there anything else we have forgotten to cover, Christy?
I think we got all the important stuff.
Well, that is a relief. Because when there's such an action-packed week like this, sometimes things can slip through the cracks.
Yeah, you guys can always let us know if we miss anything.
Of course. How can they do that, Christy?
You can email us at groupdatespod@gmail.com or message us on Instagram, which is just Group Dates Podcast.
Excellent. Yes, it is going to be an interesting next few weeks in paradise as things go back and forth, and perhaps some justice is served. Hopefully. We will see. And hopefully we get a better host. No offense, Titus. I've heard you're a great actor, but I miss my bro Spade.
Yeah.
This has been Group Dates and Hot Takes, a Bachelor Nation podcast. I'm Sampy.
And I'm Christy. We'll talk to you next week.